Hello and welcome to another tutorial for AKCCess Pro Server. In this tutorial we're going to take a look at how to set up a recording policy for AKCCess Pro Server so you can then later go on to view pre-recorded footage. So let's jump in and get started. You can see that I've already added a camera here to our Server Explorer window, and to find out how to add a camera to the system, view our other tutorial which shows you how to add the camera to the server. So now that we've got our camera here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the camera across onto the window. This isn't necessary to set up a recording policy, but I just want to drag it across so you can see that we have a live camera feed coming into the server. So what we want to do is we want to set up a recording policy so that we can go and view the pre-recorded footage. So how do we do that? Well, we need to change from the monitoring option here on the left hand side. We need to go to the bottom to the video recording option, and this now takes us into a new window. And you can see that we have three tabs at the top here. We have policies summary, recording policies, and archive policies. Now at the moment there's going to be no summary of our policies because we haven't created one. If we go to archive policies, there's also going to be no archives of our policies because again we haven't created one. So what we want to do is we want to go to the recording policies tab and then click create. And now we get a window that comes up, and it gives us an option of where we want to record our footage to. We can either record it to our server, which is our PC, or we can record to the base unit. I would always recommend recording to the server, so I'm going to go ahead and click here. Now it brings up a window, and this is where we can essentially choose our directory of where we would like to add the recording. So just so you get a good idea, at the bottom here you can see that I've got my my D drive selected, and it actually shows me how much free space I've got. So this is the drive that I'm going to use. However, if you wanted to select another drive, I'll just cancel this off a second. If I wanted to select another drive, you can actually see all the different ones with space available here. You can see I don't have a lot of space available on that drive, so again I'm going to go back to D, and now let's just go back to the create recording policies and go back to where we were. So let's go ahead and click add. So now what we can do is we can actually select where we want to have our recording. So if I go to the D drive, you can actually see that I've already set up a folder here called recording, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm also going to select the maximum size for the recording. So for this purposes I'm going to take the recording up to 300 megabytes and click OK. It says it does not exist, so it's automatically going to create the recording policies folder in the destination that I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes. Now I can go ahead and click next, but before I go ahead and do that, you can see that we've got two options at the bottom here, which is not to record items in this directory and remove old items as necessary. So I'm just going to leave it as it is and click next. So now that I've done that, what I want to do is actually choose which camera this recording policy is for. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight the camera, and then I'm going to click the arrows here to bring it over into our selected cameras box. So now I can go ahead and click next. On the next window we can choose when to record videos. We can always choose to have the camera recording always or on an event. If we click on the event, we can then choose whether it wants to be a timed event or a sensor event. However, for the purposes of this tutorial I'm going to click always and then click next. Now here we can choose the frame rate that we want to record at. Obviously you can take this all the way up to around 30 frames per second if you choose. I wouldn't really recommend going that high. It's not necessarily useful. 15 frames per second is more than enough. However, for recording purposes you can even take it down to 10 or 5 frames per second in order to save space on your hard drive. Obviously the higher frames per second you have, the more space you're going to use. For this one I'm going to use 15 frames per second and click next. Now we get our window saying congratulations, we've now completed all of our required information, and we're going to click finish. And now that we've clicked finish, you can now see that in the recording policy section we have this recording policy here with the name, the condition, the cameras attached to it, where it's being recorded to, and the maximum size. And that is how you set up your recording policy in AKCCess Pro Server.